our next speaker. And I don't know what to say about you, Mark. Mark is special. I would have to say he's a kindred spirit. I met Mark through someone that I worked with years ago in my past life. Years ago. And when I met Mark, him and I hit it off right away, and our birthdays are actually a couple of days apart. So we are Earth. And when it comes to the zodiac sign, we're Taurus, and we're very earthy. We're just earth-grounded, down-to-earth people. And that is the best way I can describe Mark. And it's been such a pleasure to see his journey over the last couple of years and where he's at now. And he's going to tell a little bit about his story. It's been quite a journey, just the same as that of James Gray. And with Mark, I can honestly say from where I met him to who he is today is definitely refreshing. To see someone push themselves beyond their comfort zone and to push themselves to be different and to do something that's different. And he inspired me to get back into the game when it came to weight loss and to get healthy and to eat better. I started taking pictures of my meals and sending it to Mark and was like, look what I did. I had some asparagus and salmon today. And Mark would send me inspirational meals in the morning. You got this today. And it always seems that right at the moment that I needed that positive inspiration or God is got your back type of message, Mark would send it right at the moment that I needed it. And he still does that to this day. And when I was really having a difficult time, it was the first Mother's Day since my mother's death, and waking up and everybody is saying Happy Mother's Day and have pictures of their mom and celebrating, I felt that void for the first time and wanting to reach out to her but couldn't because she's not here anymore. And Mark was actually one of the first people to send me a text and said, my thoughts are with you, how you doing? I know today is difficult. And then he reached out later in the day, hey, I'm just checking in again, how's it going? Because as the day progressed, it actually got a little worse. And my heart was really heavy not having my mother, and to have Mark to think of me, to say, I know that this must be a difficult day for you, shows the character of him and how thoughtful he is and how he cares about others. And for that's why I can truly say that he has been a good friend to me. And he continues to inspire me. And when I told him about my transition to Texas, he was like, what? You know how Mark say what? What? You going to Texas? Oh man, that's awesome. Mark has never said, you can't do that. Not once. He's never said, you won't make it. You can't do that. That's not going to work. He's always said, it will work. He's always been encouraging. And I don't know if he's been that way for you, but he's definitely been that for me. And so it is with great honor to have him here to speak. And just to give you a little bit about Mark, Mark is a health coach. He's a motivational speaker who loves to encourage and uplift those within his community. And he actually came from St. Louis to come here and be here today. So I so appreciate that, Mark, for coming from St. Louis. And he actually has some friends and family that's here as well. So that is, Mark is going to always come through. And so who can't support Mark? He's just such an awesome person. And to come from St. Louis to be here means a lot to me. And he is a trainer. So anyone that has some questions about health or fitness, make sure you make that connection today with Mark before we get out of here. It's just to talk to him about that, because he's definitely, it's all about networking. He's definitely the person that you should be speaking to. He also does one-on-one sessions along with group conditioning classes. In 2008, Mark competed in a men's physique competition, and he was placed in the top 5, and it was his very first competition. And all of the training and the pictures and the YouTube video, not YouTube, the Facebook Live videos and Instagram and his transition, his before and after, it was a little soft porn for me, Mark, I have to tell you. Looking at those pictures, goodness, yes, in the comment section. But it was motivational and, nice at the same time. It was eye candy. I'm just teasing you, Mark. But Mark, his main goal is to serve the people within his community. He's all about reaching out, reach one, teach one. No one should ever feel alone and defeated, and I definitely can attest to that he has been a dear friend to me and have reached out to me at some of my very lonely moments and times. So please give a warm welcome for Mark Jefferson.
What's going on, everybody? Thank you all so much for taking time out of your day to come to the What's Next conference. Honestly, give it up for yourselves for coming out. All right, that's enough because I ain't got a lot of time. But anyway, so here we are. It's crazy that I'm actually up on this stage today because just 6 months ago, I was sitting in the audience at the What's Next conference and I was thinking to myself, I was listening to those speakers and I was like, how can they stand there and be so brave and so vulnerable and yet so inspiring and just totally reveal themselves to other people, sharing their journeys. 6 months later, here I am on the stage getting ready to do the same, trying to be brave, trying not to trip, hoping to inspire and hoping to impact. So how did I get here? How did I get here to this moment? I know that we're talking about the what's next in our lives. But for me, I know sometimes I can get in such a routine of doing a day-to-day thing over and over again. You get up in the morning, you shower, you brush your teeth, you eat, you drive, you get to work, and it's like, how did I get from point A to point B? Like, how did I get to this point in my life? And so as I was preparing for this day, I was thinking to myself, how did I get here? So again, I know that we are at the What's Next conference, but in order for me to talk about what is my next, I have to talk about what was back then, all right? So we're gonna take a little bit of a trip back in time, not that long ago, but it was 1980. All right, so as Monica said, born and raised St. Louis, Missouri, I am the youngest of 5 kids. The youngest sibling to me in age is 11 years older than me, okay? So clearly I was a surprise kid that was not supposed to happen. I was very, very, from what I've been told, energetic as a kid. I wasn't bad, but I probably was one of those kids that was gonna be on some medicine, if they had medicine back then, but they didn't have all that. I also was a kid that I didn't get a lot of spankings. I honestly think that my parents were all out of ass whoopings by the time I was born. They used all the ass whooping credit, loans, whatever it was. I didn't get it. My siblings got it before me, so thank you, Stephanie, for taking that for me the years before, I got it. But one thing about me as a kid was I was very adamant about getting things done my way. I was not bad, but it had to be done my way. If you told me I couldn't have something, I was okay with that. But if you told me I couldn't do it my way, that's when I had an issue. So I remember one particular story, or one particular time I was doing something my way. I was hopping fences, and my father always used to catch me doing things that I wasn't supposed to be doing. So y'all in the front row, you just pay attention. My father used to always catch me. And so one particular time I was hopping a fence, and my father said, "Stop, Mark, you're gonna hurt yourself. Don't hop fences no more." I said, "Okay, I won't today." But I'm gonna continue to do it later. So Me and my buddies, we were outside, and of course, we were hopping fences. And, you know, I stand at 6 feet right now, but you know, back then I was a little bit shorter. So I'm hopping the fence, and this particular time, I don't know what happened, but both of the shoestrings on both of my shoes were totally untied. I hopped the fence, both shoes got wrapped around the fence. I flung backwards over the fence, literally, and I'm hanging upside down. My friends are trying frantically to get me off of the fence. They couldn't do it. They're like, what do you want to do? I'm like, the blood is rushing to my head. I don't know, just get me off of this fence. So I finally said, you gotta go home and get my dad. They couldn't get the shoes off of my, it was meant to be. I don't know. So I'm hanging upside down. They went to go get my dad, and my heart is racing like crazy. It's like boom, 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 boom. Every second, every minute that passed, I knew that Hardin Jefferson was getting ready to see me hanging upside down in this fence. Here he comes, and all I keep hearing is saying, I told you to stop hopping fences. I told you to stop hopping fences. I didn't say anything. He didn't say nothing after that, but he had scissors in his hands. He cut one shoestring on one foot, cut the other shoestring on the other foot. My body fell to the ground. He didn't pick me up. He just kept walking, and all I heard him say was, one of these days, you are going to listen to me. As I got older, those days never really happened. I still wanted to do things my way. So let's move a little bit further into high school. Again, this wasn't that long ago. We're talking like mid-90s or whatever. It ain't that long ago, dang y'all. But anyway, so I'm in high school now, and at this point, I started dealing with a lot of self-esteem issues. So before I even go into these things, I want to talk about my family background. My family is a very loving family. And I'm not just saying this because y'all are here. I was going to say this anyway. I didn't know they were coming. My Aunt Jenny and my sister Stephanie surprised me today, so thank you all so much for doing that. But I grew up in a very loving family. My family has always been very oriented. We've always been very positive. I didn't grow up with the typical family where there's like a lot of drama. Like, I didn't experience that. I've always experienced love. So the real world is not like that. And as I got older, I started experiencing what the real world was like. As I got older, you know, you can have someone say something negative about you, and that negative thing will weigh on you. You could have 98 people tell you that you're smart, you're beautiful, you're amazing, but you might have 2 people tell you you're unattractive, you're dumb, you're not worthy. And you're going to give those 2 people more power than you have the other 98 people that told you these things. So I remember one time in particular, I was going into Kmart with my mother, and my mom was walking really, really fast. And I was trying to follow her into the store, and these two grown women, I was probably like around 11 at this time. I think this is right before high school. So I was around 11 at the time. These 2 grown women, they were walking by me. And I remember this woman, she said, hey girl, doesn't he look like so-and-so? And the woman looked at me and she said, no girl, he's too ugly to look like so-and-so. And I was 11 years old, and I have never, ever forgotten that moment. And because of that moment, I never, ever wanted to look at pictures of myself. I didn't want to do anything that put me in the forefront of people. But moving forward into my high school years, I also was someone that really cared for people. Because a lot of people, when you go through negative things in life, if someone is constantly making fun of you about whatever it is, you feel like, one, you either become stuck up and arrogant to cover up your insecurities, or either you do something the exact, like drugs or alcohol or whatever, I don't know. So for me, I didn't do any of those things. I still stayed with who I was and my heart and just pouring into love into people. But I poured so much love into people in high school, trying to be everybody's friend, trying to be there for everybody, that I honestly neglected my grades. So my grades suffered. I felt hell. I don't have to be an A and B student. If I can socialize, if I can go to parties, and if I can read half of a book and still pass and go to the next grade, that's good enough for me. That's my what's next. I can be an average student and move on to the next grade, and I am totally okay with that. So in high school, my high school counselor, she told me, she said, Mark, I hate to tell you this, you're not college material. And I said, oh, I'm not? She said, no. Again, things have to be done my way. She told me I wasn't college material, so what did I do? I went to college. But I'm also one of those, I've always, when you tell me I can't do something, I'm going to do my hardest to prove you wrong. So that first year in college, I did okay, I did pretty good. But that second year in college, I got too comfortable. I basically, to make a long story short, I ended up getting kicked off of campus because my grades were so bad. So I ended up completing 2 years of college. And then right after this situation happened in school, a buddy of mine who lived in my neighborhood, he became a pastor. So some friends of mine in the neighborhood, we all decided to go to listen and support him. Now, the church that he ministered at was no bigger than this section right here. It was super duper small. And I just remember being in the church, the choir singing. I have never in my life heard a choir sound this bad in my life. I'm not even joking, seriously, it was horrible. And my friends, they were laughing hysterically the entire time the choir was singing. And if I knew one thing not to do in a church, you don't act up. So I'm trying to be the more mature one and just sit there and try to calm them down and like, y'all don't laugh, don't do that, that's disrespectful. But then the pastor got done preaching, there's a woman. And when she got done, she said, I'm gonna pray for everybody. She said, everybody close your eyes. So I closed my eyes. First thing out of her mouth was, I couldn't take it no more. I lost it. I went for broke. I laughed hysterically in the church. And I was laughing so hard. I was like, while I'm laughing, I'm thinking, you know how you laugh so hard sometimes you feel like you're about to die, like you're crying, you can't breathe. And I was like, all this is going on in my mind. I'm thinking, oh my God, Mark, you're laughing. Stop laughing. But I couldn't stop. And so then I was like, oh my God, I'm about to die. Like I can't even breathe. So I said, Mark, act like you're crying. So I started crying. I started having a Baptist fit, and I was like, And so by the time I got done with all that, the woman said, you. And I was like, please don't. She started looking at me. So I was like this. And I looked up, and she said, you, come here, I want to pray for you. And I was like, what I do? So I went up to her, and she said, the Lord is going to use you. And I said, okay. And she said, and I just stood there. And she said, and I was like, oh, I think I'm supposed to fall. So I said, so I fell down. So about a year later, I'm in church again. This is honestly, I remember this service exactly. It was New Year's Eve service, 2000 going to 2001. There was no moaning session with Jesus at the altar. There was no bad choir. But for the first time in my life, I honestly heard the Lord speak to me. And it was in that service, he said, Mark, I'm going to use you. You're going to preach and you're going to have a ministry. I said, he must have meant Mark Johnson, because I know he talking about Mark Jefferson. That can't be the case. So, again, I wanted things done my way. So I did not ask him what he meant by it. I just totally ignored it because I said, that's not me. Years started going on and I still had not gone back to college, but I was working in corporate America. Now, many of you all don't know me, but for those of you that do know me, you know I've had several jobs in corporate America. Can we turn the music down just a little bit? Thank you much. All right, so you all know that I have had many jobs in corporate America. Many jobs in corporate America. If you name it, I have probably worked there. And so none of these jobs for me, they never, ever worked out. I was always getting laid off, the company was closing, I was getting fired. I remember this one particular time, this lady told me, well, not this lady, but it was the worst job I ever had. It was with a cell phone company that's still around right now. I was working in the call center. And my mom got really tired of me complaining about this job every single day. And so I was talking to one of my coworkers on the IM chat. And I said, oh my God, I said, my mom, so she got tired of me. She went off with me last night about the job. She said, it sounds like your mom needs to get some booty. And I said, well, I don't know about that. And then later in the day, I said, oh my God, my customer is pissed off. And so my manager, I didn't know, was looking at that chat at the time. The next day she called me into her office. She said, did you know that girl said that your mom needs to get some booty? And I said, yeah, I didn't say it. She said, you should have said that's inappropriate. I said, okay, I didn't. And she said, did you also say a curse word? I said, what did I say? She said, you said pissed. I said, I didn't know pissed was a curse word. She said, yeah, we're gonna have to let you go. So I was like, fine. I had my gym bag in the car anyway. I didn't want to be here. I'm ready to go to the gym. So they let me go. I was actually happy they fired me. I was ecstatic that they fired me. I remember calling my sister Rita, and I told her how happy I was that they fired me. She could not believe how happy I was that they fired me. But along the way, the Lord kept speaking to me. He would always still speak to me and tell me, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do that. I was like, I'm not doing that. That's not what I want to do. It's not going to happen, okay? So again, going back to what I said, I'm always someone that when I start something, I have to finish it. I have to finish it. And so along the way, I kept thinking, Mark, maybe you should go back to school. Maybe you should give school another try. So at this time, my best friend Ken, he had moved to Chicago. So I would always come to Chicago, and I would always walk up and down Michigan, downtown Chicago. We would always pass this building. And so one of my friends, he said, hey, Mark, he knew he's like, you should go back to school. I said, I've been actually thinking about going back to school. He said, have you thought about Columbia College in Chicago? I said, that's funny. I said, I think I passed that building all the time when I visit Chicago. I said, I never thought about it though. He's like, you should look into it. Never told nobody in the family what I was doing. So what I did was I drove to Chicago one particular Friday, visited the school, didn't tell no one that I was coming to Chicago, fell in love with the school, and I was like, oh my God, I can see myself at Columbia. The issue with Columbia though back then was that Columbia was $20,000 a year. And I was like, I'm unemployed. I don't have $20,000, but this is how God works. And I would tell you all this, that what God has for you, can't nobody take that from you. If he wants it to be done, it's going to happen. So with Columbia College being $20,000 a year, and with me being unemployed, I qualified for grants. Those grants pretty much cover 80% of my tuition for my first year at Columbia and my second year at Columbia. So not only did I graduate college being told I was not college material, I graduated cum laude. I graduated with honors. But even with that being said, I wanted things done my way. So my what's next was, I got the golden ticket, I went to Columbia College Chicago, I graduated with honors, where's my salary? I got a marketing degree now, what's up? They was like, you ain't got the experience though. So I'm like, I did all this work to get this degree and I don't have the experience now. So I ran into issues block after block after block, trying to find a job in my degree. I still ended up working these same exact jobs I had before I even had a degree. And then it was like, okay, God, why did I do all this? And he just kept talking to me. He kept talking to me. And finally, he gave me a job that utilized my degree, which was at Claire's. Yeah, I said the name. This job ended up being the second worst job that I've ever had in my life, and I hated it. I was like, if I hear about makeup and bracelets one more time, I promise you I'm going to lose it. Like, literally, I remember being in a meeting one time, and I heard God say, because at this particular time, I really started getting deep into my spirituality, and to even go back into things like, it's crazy how God will give you little, I guess, previews on what's to come. So I started hearing about this church called New Life. People was like, you should come to New Life. You should come to New Life. I was like, no, I'm good on church. Like, I'm not really that big on church like that. They was like, you should come to New Life. You should come to New Life. Now I'm thinking church was like my church back in St. Louis. No disrespect, but it didn't do anything for me. I didn't get moved at this particular church. And so finally, I accepted an offer from Anthony to come to New Life. And because I went to New Life, it honestly gave me a new life. It gave me a new perspective on things. And so at this point in time, I started honestly getting deeper into what's next. I'm at Claire's, I'm talking about bracelets and makeup and eyeliner. I don't care nothing about this stuff. So I was like, okay, God, what is next for me? He was like, I need you to serve. See, sometimes God knows we're dumb. So sometimes he's like, okay, I gave you this word. Let me give you another word to see if you're clean to this. He's like, I just need you to serve. And I was like, oh, okay, serve. What do you want me to serve? What do you want me to do? And then what I didn't realize was that I ended up signing up to become an Herbalife distributor. And I'm not gonna make this about Herbalife, but but when I started to become an Herbalife distributor, I was like, oh my God, like this is so awesome. Like I'm actually helping people lose weight. But what I didn't realize at the same time was that I was actually serving people. I was pouring into people. I didn't get any of that. So I'm still at Claire's at this point. And then it got to a point one particular night, because everyone knew how much I hated that job. They were like, I prayed this one particular prayer this Thursday night, I'll never forget it. And I asked God, I just kept praying. I could not get out the prayer. I just kept saying, yes, God, have your way. Have your way, God. Have your way, have your way. I just kept saying this over and over again. This is like around midnight, Friday morning. I get to work, 8 o'clock Friday morning, 8:30 Friday morning. I'm being walked out the door. I lost my job. So God removed me from Claire's, and I was like, thank you. But see, what was also happening was, what I didn't realize, I was entering what's called my Job moment, where what I thought this was going to be it. I lost my job. I can deal with that. I told you to have your way. I know that God is my source and nobody else. But what ended up happening the next week was I went to my landlord and I said, hey, I lost my job last week. How late do I have to pay my rent? It's like, if you don't have it in 5 days, we got to kick you out. Are we going to evict you? And I was like, I've never been late. It was like, unfortunately, that's all we can do. So I ended up having to sell all my furniture, move out my apartment, give away whatever I could, and ended up moving in with my best friend. That alone is enough right there. I didn't have a job, and every single job that I kept applying to here in Chicago, nothing was opening up, like nothing. I literally had offers where they were like, is this salary what you want? And I was like, yes, we're gonna send your offer letter to you in a couple hours, great. Instead of that offer letter, I got an email from them telling me, thank you for your offer, but we decided to go with someone else. Even though you just told me this is my job, but you're taking it away, I didn't understand it. Every single job that I had in Chicago, it seemed like it was about to happen, but it never, ever opened up, and I could not understand why this was going on. I was so miserable, driving Lyft, sitting in my car, it rained something, it was just raining nights, and I'm out driving Lyft at 2 o'clock in the morning. And then, like I said, I lost my apartment, I lost my job, I lost all my furniture. That's enough. But then in May of 2017, I get a call from my sister Stephanie, and I'm thinking she's calling me to talk to me about a new hair design, because she always texts me and calls me about, what's a hair suggestion. And it wasn't that call. She was actually calling to tell me that our older sister, Rita, had found out she had leukemia, and that she was going to have to go into the hospital immediately. And so I'm here in Chicago, but they said her prognosis is going to be great. She's young, she's healthy, she's going to be good. And I was like, okay, cool. But I kept coming back and forth from Chicago to St. Louis to come visit her. One particular day, I got a call and they said that she was on life support. And that was not even 2 months after she found out that she had leukemia. She ended up passing away. And it was funny because in the process of me going up and down 55, I heard God say again, I need you to move. I need you to move back to St. Louis. And I kept thinking about what Pastor Hannah would say, that your zip code is going to change. You're going to have a new zip code. And I was like, thank you, Lord. Yes, and, enhance my territory. I did not think it was going to be back to St. Louis, though. But I surrendered, because at this point, he had taken everything away from me. And I was like, I have no other option but to surrender to what his will is and seek what that is for my life. And so being back in St. Louis, being back home with my parents after being on your own was extremely hard. But I needed that moment to rebuild myself. He literally stripped me just to rebuild a better version of me. I know a lot of, Monica told about how I do the workouts and all that, and I did a men's physique competition. I wouldn't have been able to do any of that if it wasn't for these moments that happened in my life. So, what's next? For me, it's about empowerment. It's about speaking. It's about health and fitness. It's about making sure that I am not just doing what I want to do, but I'm doing what he wants me to do. And so that for me is what's next. So if there anything that I could tell you all, or nuggets to give you guys, is one thing. Never ever let somebody tell you what you can't do or what you are not, because you have to know that you are greater than anything. Number two, your journey is going to be your journey. Don't compare yours to nobody else's, because you are designed the way that you are designed, and your journey is designed the way that it's going to be designed for you. Number three, seek clarity. Ask God what exactly it is that He needs for you to do. And that's all I got. All right?
That was awesome, Mark. One thing Mark said that is so true is that your journey is your journey. It's no one else. It will not be right for someone else. And I too received a similar message